SC and Scrappy, week of May 23rd, I think. I don't know, episode 6. Is that about right?
I think it's episode 6 or 7, somewhere in that range.
Somewhere in that range. Before we get started, Lucas, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Super excited. These second year practices have been great. Got about 10 or so kids in the room both days, and for the end of the school year, I'm okay with those numbers. Got a lot of people getting ready to roll in after the school year ends, and it's a little bit easier to get to second year by 4 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Obviously, the Don Silva Memorial Duels, we're only a couple weeks away now. 10 teams. I'm really excited for Alabama, Louisiana, South Carolina. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just pumped, man. And then obviously Team Fierce and Scrappy, we're revving up. I'm going to be making my way down to Carrington a couple times to go work with their crews. Yeah, I just got a lot going on. I'm excited.
All right, man. Well, first, before I forget to do this, I want to say congratulations to everyone who is graduating. Tip of the cap. It is awesome that you guys have, whether you're graduating college or high school, kind of ending one chapter, moving on to the next chapter. Pretty awesome. And, despite it being May, there's a few things going on. We got Spartan Nationals, Beach Nationals next weekend is Southeast Regionals. I think Central Regionals up in Indiana just happened. There's a big thing happening up in PA called the Premier National League, which is going to launch, I think, this next coming weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on. And then we got 14U duels, 16U duels, your duels, junior duels, before you and I head to Fargo.
Let me make that perfectly clear. I went to Fargo once as an athlete, and it was a fantastic experience. And when the opportunity came for you and me and Ward as well, shout out to him, Dan Ward, to kind of join forces and all get up to Fargo, I had to jump at that, and I'm absolutely ecstatic. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, this is one of the most fun parts of the year for me. Like, this is where we really get to see some dream matches. And if you don't know a lot about some of these events, this is where you're going to see future NCAA finals going on in these duels. I think it's a kind of crazy stat if you don't know. I was doing research one day and I stumbled upon this. About 1/3 of NCAA placement matches in the past 5 years have happened at age level duels or Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
About 1/3. I think the number was like 34 point something percent. So it really is. You get to see a lot of these high level kids going at it, and a lot of times we'll get to see that at the next level. So it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's jump to Beach Nationals first.
Have some fun. Let me tell you what the real deal is. This is an emerging Olympic. Take it back. Circle. Look for that drag there. Zone.
So, have you ever wrestled have you ever wrestled beach before?
No. And I was actually going to this year, but just the schedule didn't work out the way we wanted. I'm doing it next year though, because it looks fun. First off, it looks fun, and it just I always love challenges, and it's something a little different, and it provides an interesting look at wrestling when you have to think about a 3-point tech fall, which
yeah.
boy. Okay, and feet to back is 3 if you don't know. Like, it's 1 point. I think it's 1 point takedown, 1 point step out, 3 point feet to back, ain't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's certainly interesting, and matches can be over quick. And I mean, I don't know, back when I was in high school, I mean, we kind of always wrestled on the beach. I just never wrestled with rules.
Yeah,
And
like we did that at Kaiser, me and the Bruton Parker boys when we went down to Kaiser last year. We wrestled on the beach, but we were just kind of messing around. We weren't actually beach wrestling.
right, right. All right, so that's pretty cool. What do you what do you think? Like, is Beach Nationals going to kind of pick up and be a thing in the future, or do you think it'll still be kind of a little bit more on the fringe, on the outside?
I think it should grow, because I feel like, not say it's easier, but it's almost a way to wrestle without doing as much damage to your body. And what I love is when we see the older guys do it. And if you notice, look at some of these brackets. You get to the senior brackets or the masters, some of these brackets are 15 guys big because they're like, oh, wait, I could drink a Corona on my beach chair, then just get up and I'm wrestling for maybe a minute most of the time. And then guess what? I go back, sit back in my beach chair, and I finish my beer. Like it's almost like a more casual form of wrestling in a way, if that makes any sense.
Well, if you're a cardio beast, I don't know that you're getting it necessarily, but you know what? I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't really wrestled, in a match on the beach. I've never wrestled in a match on the beach. So maybe it's
You and me at Beach Nationals. Let's go. So you don't have to complain about the fact you don't have any cardio.
I'm pretty damaged, but you know what? We'll have that conversation in the future.
SE versus Scrappy needs to happen. People have been clamoring for it.
No, nobody's been clamoring for anything. All right, let's move on to Spartan Nationals. And one of the things that's always interesting to me, Spartan Nationals combined with the Florida State tournament. And a couple things. Number one, the matches were on Track Wrestling. So super cool to go and watch some of these matches. I'll tell you what, 16U freestyle, 145, super good. And I'm going to go down a couple of names that kind of stood out to me. I did not get to see all the matches. I have not gone through all of them yet, but there were some absolute awesome brackets. Now, the thing that's interesting is that you've got Spartan Nationals, you've got the Florida State tournament, and the Florida State tournament can only be Florida guys, just like the Georgia tournament or girls. Yeah. So we didn't get some crossover matchups that would have been kind of interesting, because I saw Richie Clemente from Brother Martin in Louisiana was there. I saw Max Norman was there from Tennessee. We didn't get to see some of those matchups, but I'll tell you what, some of the 16U and junior from Florida, man, there were some really, really good brackets, especially on the freestyle side. What kind of stood out to you? And I'll tell you what stood out to me.
What kind of stood out to me was just it was weird to see, because Beach Nationals happening on the same weekend. It kind of pulled some people away. I saw some Florida guys at Beach Nationals. I'd like to see them separate weekends or, conjoined like they were. I think it was 2 years ago where Spartan Nationals was that 4-day long event. But just like you said, I haven't had a chance to really go get in the trenches and look at a lot of these matchups. But when I saw some of the brackets, I was like, "Ooh, that's a name. Ooh, that's a name." So it's I'll for sure want to go back and check some of it out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just throw out a couple things. Number one, because I didn't.
Junior freestyle 152 stuck out to me. That one too had some hitters.
Was that Anderson Heat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that whole crew. Had some hitters in it.
So a couple things. Number one, if you don't know the name Yandro Soto, Lake Highland Prep, 16U, you and I saw him at Elite 8. He is super tough at 132 pounds, 16Us. That is a name. If he is, I don't know if he's on the dual team, if he's going to Fargo, but that is a name you should keep an eye on. 145, I already mentioned, with Zeno Moore, Tyree Graham, Mason Bazille, 16Us. And then probably, I would think, has to enter at Fargo as the favorite to win a national title at 16U 220, Michael Mako. The fact that Mako is still a 16U after placing double All-Americans last year in 16U, man, I'll tell you what, that is a tough matchup for any 16U.
I would say if you're Michael Mako, you are probably walking in odds-on favorite. Like if there were odds, I mean,
I would
yeah.
think so. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, returning All-American as a first-year 16U, that's pretty tough.
And
then
a
we
double
jump,
All-American at that. Like
Yeah.
he placed in both. Like, that's a big thing.
yeah, and then we jump up to the juniors, and obviously you got Sawyer Bartelt. You mentioned, the junior 152s. The one that stood out to me was the junior 120s for Florida, with Ethan Rivera taking first, Tyler Washburn taking second, Gabriel Telez taking third, Roman Lermer taking fourth. That is your freestyle top four.
That's tough.
That's tough. That is a really, really good. And those are the top four. That wasn't even the rest of the bracket. I mean, man.
And what I think is really interesting is when you get to look at some of the dual lineups and you see that, even if a state only has two teams, really only three guys are going to go typically. And it's like sometimes seeing, like, there were years in Georgia that certain guys would get left off and we on the team would be like, damn, man, that's a rough break because they were so good. And it's really cool to see that the rest of the Southeast is getting that same point now to Florida and Georgia, where sometimes look at Alabama every once in a while.
Mhm.
Tennessee, you'll see some lineups where their fourth, fifth guy is an All-American threat any given Saturday. And it's like, ooh.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you and I have been reaching out to the state chapters in each of the states, and we have Tennessee's 14U, 16U, juniors and girls. We have Georgia's roster lineup for the duels. I'll have Florida's after this past weekend. Alabama is supposed to come in pretty soon. North Carolina is supposed to come in pretty soon. I haven't reached out to South Carolina yet. That's one. But you know what? You and I have a busy couple weeks coming up in previewing not only your, Don Da Silva duels, but also these 14 and 16U duels, which will take place at exactly the same time in different parts of the country. Yeah. And you and I will do a little bit of preview over the next couple of weeks. And we'll try to highlight some.
I'm hoping to have all my rosters by the 28th is when I told everybody I need all my rosters so that I could start doing some previews and whatnot with you for that exact reason. So hopefully by 28th, everybody will have at least the majority of their lineup into me.
All right. So a couple of news things this week before we jump into my interview with Lilly Chavis from Jackson County, who won the Tricia Saunders Award. Before we get to that, and then you and I are going to end with a really quick conversation about something, and I'm going to refer back to something we talked about earlier in this conversation. But before we get to that, number one, Bruton Parker has a new head coach.
Yes, it does. I thought you were gonna. Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith has come down. He's come down from Cumberland's to take the reins from Coach Dodgens, who I think did a really good job with what he had.
Yep.
And I gotta say, I've met with Tyler. Me and him have been pretty much in constant phone contact every couple of days about a number of things. And as well, Mr. Dooley, our athletic director, quick shout out to both of them as they not only helping Tyler Smith transition in, but with my dual tournament, I negotiated with Dodgens the deal, and then Smith comes in, and Dooley has been super helpful in making sure that everything stayed the way it was, smooth transition. Smith as well will be on hand at the event to help out. Like, I really like Tyler. And obviously what he was able to do at Cumberland's and do with Cumberland's can't go undersaid. So I'm really excited to get to work with him and see what he can do with our Bruton Parker team that, I'll call it what it is, has been a joke in our conference for the past couple of years. You know, we've had a couple of good individuals, guys like me, DJ McNeil, Hankel, Wilkinson, Saul, Joel Fagler until he got hurt, you know, but we really haven't been able to put together a full team yet. You know, and you got a guy like Sean Houston and me back in the lineup this year with Justin Grant and the crew. I really think we'll be able to put together a real good team, and with Tyler Smith at the helm, I'm really excited for what the Barons have to come. I'm pumped.
So Bruton Parker, obviously adding Tyler Smith as their new head coach, and Cumberland has tapped Sarah Allen to elevate Sarah Allen from, I think, an assistant role to lead their women's program up there. Two big pieces of news in the college ranks. Another thing that dropped just recently, and one thing I really like about this is USA Wrestling combines with Flow Wrestling and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame to produce girls rankings, national girls rankings, and they do so on a regular basis. And that is something that, you know, Flo does the guys, Willie does, Matt Scouts do their version for the guys as well, this group. And it's kind of, it's not like it's dropped every single month, or it's not dropped in a regular fashion. And the fact that USA Wrestling does so is, I think, really, really good. I like the fact that they combine with Flow and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame to do so. And then last but not least, we have a few girls who are sitting very close to the top of those rankings. In fact, 31 are ranked overall, but you got Piper Fowler coming in number 1. May Prado is a number 2 after a great run at Women's Nationals. Zao Estrada is number 2 at her weight. So, you know, I just wanted to make mention of that. And one of the things I really liked about the way they do the rankings.
Me too. I like it as well. And I appreciate that more effort is getting put into the girls scene. And I feel like that with time, that will only continue to grow. And, you know, I don't want to commit to it yet because there's still a lot of nuances, but I would love to do Georgia individual girls rankings like I do the guys. Now that would be a lot of logistical nightmares, and I'm going to throw this out there now. If people who run girls events and girls teams, if you are willing to send me results, or Jason, I will do them. The only reason I didn't this year, when people asked me, I made it clear. Trying to figure out where girls are wrestling, at what weights, and against who in the past 2 years. Yeah, I'm throwing darts, but the thing is, the darts don't have tips on it. It's the magnetic ones that you give to 7-year-olds. Like, God forbid I'm close to the fridge. It's gonna end up on the fridge. It's not even on the board. Like, yeah, legitimately. So, if people are willing to help out on that front, I would love to do that. And I love the way that girls wrestling is growing. I love it.
All right. So, and last question for you before we move to Lilly Chavis. And speaking of girls wrestling in the state of Georgia, that's a really good segue. But before I go to there, do you believe that guys wrestling should have a monthly drop of rankings nationally? And do you like the combination of USA Wrestling, National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Flow coming together, or not? Do you like separate rankings?
I kind of like separate rankings because for me, I like seeing what everybody thinks.
Okay.
When you conjoin, I don't know who's doing the rankings. I don't know if it's one person from Flow, one person from the Hall of Fame, one person from USA Wrestling, and they kind of combine. I don't know how it all the way works. But I love when me and Grappler put out separate rankings and we get to see, okay, where are we different here? I love that. I think it's and I think it's good for the sport as well. I think more minds, more voices is always good.
I agree I like that as well. I do like the fact that I do like the fact that you have one ranking and it's dropped kind of regularly. But I agree with you in that if you did a ranking and I did a ranking and Grappler did a ranking and this group did a ranking, what we value might all be just a little bit different. And that just changes the rankings just a little bit. And I think that's really good. So
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
all right. So I got an opportunity to talk to Tricia Saunders Award winner in the state of Georgia, Lilly Chavis. Just so you guys know, we did reach out to Luke Cochran from Jefferson, was not able to get him to figure out a time to work this out. But I got an opportunity to talk to Lilly, and here's my interview with Lilly Chavis. All right. I am here with 2023 Tricia Saunders Award winner for the state of Georgia, and what, two-time state champion?
Yeah.
Lilly Chavis, Jackson County. Lilly, first, congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
Did you know you had been nominated? Were you surprised? How did all that play out?
I did not know. Like, I really didn't understand the award, kind of. I was like, what? So yeah, the coaches like talked to me about it, and they explained it more, and I was like, oh, okay, I got it. It's like a big deal. I looked into it, and I was like, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
but yeah,
no doubt.
I had no idea.
Did you get told before they nominated you, or did they nominate you? They just asked for a bunch of information.
So the funny thing is, I wasn't. They were going to tell me my fourth period, and I wasn't there, and so. Yeah, and so they came down to track practice, and they told me that I won it. I was like, oh, okay, gotcha. So I figured it out at the end of the day, and then they posted online and everything, and that's how I kind of figured it out.
Very cool. All right. So Tricia Saunders Award is obviously for your wrestling accomplishments, but it's also for in school and community service and things along those lines. I already mentioned you're a two-time state champion. We're going to get to that in a minute, but can you tell us a little bit about background about in school, favorite subject, what you're really interested in, and then kind of community service or anything like that?
Yeah. So I was my favorite thing in the school was probably math, I would say. And of course with the wrestling, I was kind of one of the leaders in the girls team. And then so I've been kind of I had Raven on the team as well, Raven Cook. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of both led the girls because we had more experience in the sport and how to lead. And we learned by that with our coach had a book club every Thursday. And it was just about how to lead and how to be a better person. And so I attended that as well. So I've been involved with that. And then besides school, I've been involved with my church as well. Mm-hmm. And around the kids and everything. And then that's pretty much what I've done besides wrestling.
Awesome. So math, man. Most people go math. What is it? You love math?
I love it's just one answer. So I was like, I enjoy it. It's
I got you. That's cool. So tell us your, origin story as it relates to wrestling. When did you start wrestling and how did all that come to be?
Okay. So before I started wrestling, I was in soccer for 13 years. So I've been playing since I was 3. And so the high school soccer, I was just approaching high school, and high school soccer is after wrestling. So there was one friend that did wrestling and soccer at the same time, and she was like, dude, wrestling is going to get you in shape for soccer. And I was like, perfect. And so I got into wrestling, and first time I fell in love with it. I'm a competitive person to begin with, and that put me into that position. I could use that, and I enjoyed that. So that's how I kind of got into it with soccer. And then I left soccer my sophomore year and just put all my focus into wrestling. But yeah. So
your friend who talked you into it, when they first approached you, were you wrestling, or were you
yeah,
I'm good? What was kind of your reaction?
At first, I was wrestling. What? I'm not trying to be on top of people like that. I was I'm not a very personal person either. But they talked me into it, and they made me stay for 4 years. So I am. Yeah. No,
so do you remember your first practice?
Oh yes. Yeah, I didn't get the dress code. Nope, didn't get that. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. That was, yeah. I learned a lot through that first practice, and I came back with the next day with my long sleeves and my sweatpants, and I was ready. But other than that, yeah.
So yeah. When you walked out of practice for that first time, were you yeah, that was pretty cool, I could do this? Or were you what in the world was I thinking?
I don't want to go back. But then my parents, like I've always been taught if I'm going to start something, I'm going to finish it. But so I finished that season, and then I fell in love with it pretty much after that.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, you progressed in the sport, and I mean, let's be honest, like this past year, you were returning state champion, but your bracket was tough. I mean, it had a lot of really talented girls in it, and you took care of business pretty easily, I would think.
Yeah, I started off the season pretty rough to begin with, and then I think I just went in that mindset because I'm the person that gets in my head a lot. And plus moving up to another weight class.
Right, you bumped up, right.
Yeah. And the 2 years before that, I didn't perform well in those weight classes. And so like it was just very nervous, but I had to trust myself more than just performing what I know I can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So what if you were to tell me a person on the mat and then a person off the mat who has been the most influential to you?
I would have to say the Isabella at Chastity, just because she whooped my butt every single year, and she was like, I looked up to her because we would respect each other off and on the mat. So we would go to war on the mat, and then we respect each other off of it. And like, she was also my partner in Team Georgia, and so I learned a lot from her, and I built so much off of her, kind of.
I would push you a little bit, right?
Yeah, she was my motivation pretty much. So like, I look up her on and off the mat as well. So
cool.
I would say, yep.
All right, that's awesome. So let me ask you as we wind this down and get kind of finish up the conversation. How special was it to win a state title the same year that your teammate Raven won a state title as well? She didn't win it the year before, I don't think. So it was a big deal for her. So
we were always like, I think junior year was when we were serious, like we're gonna get this title, we're gonna get this. And for me to just walk out without her getting one, it was just we were not disappointed, but we were just like torn apart because we always talked about like being the first two girls to do it for Jackson County. And so this year we're gonna get it, like we're gonna get it for sure. And we both had rough seasons to begin with, and it was just more like mentality, like we're gonna get it. And it felt amazing after we accomplished it, because it's something that you talked about for a while, and getting to do it and getting to live that is just like, we did it. Like we hit our goal pretty much. It was pretty good. It was amazing.
Were you nervous for her when she went out? Were you watching her match?
Yeah. So we had a teammate that won too. So Jose.
Right.
And we kind of, so we had Jose Pacheco, and we kind of felt the pressure of like, okay, well, it's our turn. Like, and so when she stepped on the mat,
he was first.
Yeah.
Because he's a little 106 pounder, right?
Yeah. So after his day got over, and we were like, we have to do it. We're not gonna be. So when she stepped on the mat, I knew she was ready, and I knew that she trusted herself. And I was like, you know what, I'm trusting Raven. She got this. She's ready. She's prepared so long, and I knew she was gonna get it. I had full faith in her.
And she did. Did that mean that you felt more pressure coming to you?
Yep. I was like, it's all on me now. I was like, and I knew, like, I didn't let that get to me, and I was just like, you know what, I've trained for this for 4 years now. Like I'm going to make it happen. And I had to be like, I just had to get out of my mind and do it.
Awesome. So you are not wrestling in college at the next level. What is in store for you?
So I'm going to go and get my real estate license this summer.
Okay. And
to attend UNG for business degree, to get to understand a little bit more and how to, run, if I was to my real estate, to, kind of get the experience of real estate and get the business part of it, to understand not only about the buying the houses and looking into like invest in that stuff, but to also know how to look from the upside up from the point of view of how to run things, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome. So if I move to Jackson County or any up where further north of where I live currently, I can seek out Lilly Chavis to help me buy a house
Just
in a
let
few
me know.
years.
Just let me know. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Lilly, I want to congratulate you first on winning the award because you did so over just so many talented girls within the state of Georgia. You will always go down as a two-time state champion and really helped put Jackson County on the map. So congratulations and best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. So, talking to Lilly
Awesome interview there, by the way. Good stuff, Jason.
Talking to Lily's always so much fun, or it's always fun to talk to the award winners. It's actually the first time I've ever interviewed to Lilly, but it's always fun to talk to them because I asked them a little bit of kind of a few different questions, and this clip by Dan Ward from Spartan National. So those two little kids always makes me think of a question that I try to ask each of the honorees or each of the award recipients. And that is, do you remember your first time walking into the room, your first time being on the mat, all of those things? Lucas, do you remember your first time?
Oh, mud on. So let's keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back a little bit. Let's go in the time machine. Because I remember, this is 17 and a half years ago. And I started when I was 4. Let's keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. So when I was really young, I wanted to play football. In the state of New Jersey, you could not play tackle football until you were about 5.5, 6, for insurance reasons. Because I was living in Jersey at this point. Okay, yeah. And so my mom goes to my gym teacher, Coach T. I'll never forget this guy. She goes, what can I do with him? Do I remember something? My mom was in her 50s. No, 40s. She might murder me. My mom was in her 40s. My dad was traveling around basically 5 days a week with doing construction work and all that jazz. So it was just me and her in the house. I was bouncing off the walls like a maniac because I was 4 going on 5.
Oh, that's you now.
But I had only just started talking, and I was trying to make up for the lost times. I only started talking when I was 4, so I had to make up for the lost years, right?
Yes.
And my gym teacher, he goes, put him in wrestling down to Rec Center. He'll forget it when he can play football. And I had just started watching WWE at this point, too, so I kind of all molded in at the right time.
Okay.
So I walked into the Middlesex Borough Middle School, walked through the where the lockers were, and you turn left into the gym, and it was the wrestling room. And Coach Paul Diamond, Jeff Jacobus, Coach Petty as well. And I know there's probably one more coach that I'm completely forgetting, and I'm sorry if I am. But they introduced what sport of wrestling was. And Middlesex Borough, their high school doesn't even have a team anymore because shout out to Paul Diamond, but he ended up moving. And the program kind of just fell after the crew that would have been mine hit high school. A lot of us quit. Some of us went to South Plainfield, which home of Anthony Ashnault. Their program in the public scene of New Jersey is a bit more of a powerhouse, and it's about 3 miles down the road. So if you wanted to be a good wrestler, you would just go to South Plainfield. That's what everybody does. Shout out my little nephew, Nicholas, who's starting to wrestle. Makes me so happy. I got one of them. I was able to convince one of them to wrestle. I'm so happy. But yeah, I mean, it was.
Do you remember it? Do you remember the actual like walking in? Were you do you remember it, or were you too little?
Oh no, I completely remember walking into the room, seeing a bunch of kids, because in Middlesex you had to wear the same things to practice, right? So Mondays it was these blue shorts that I'm convinced someone made in their backyard. and a really crappy gray Gildan t-shirt. And I'm walking in with a Rey Mysterio shirt because didn't have the gear yet. So the coach, he's like, okay, today you're good. I think I paid like $45 or something. It was whatever. And then I got 3 shorts and 3 shirts. And a singlet, a black singlet with the blue J on the front and the blue M on the left leg. And then, oh wait, when I went to my first real tournament, I got the blue one that said Middlesex across the chest, black text with white outline. Ooh, it was good. And it was ironed on. All the logos were ironed on, might I add. But
Dude,
yeah.
so like the little kids we just saw in the clip,
Oh,
do you remember a match?
My first match. I will never forget. I'm on my back. And I tried to do the Hulk Hogan, like, no, and I got pinned. Holy! And I tried to call timeout at one point too. God, I was so bad. Like, people don't get that about me until I was like 11. So from 4 to 10 and a half, I was awful. I went 0-74 when I started.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
0-74. I finally got a win at Union County. I'll never. It was like my second to last tournament, and I hadn't won a single match yet. But there was one kid from North Plainfield who was just as bad as me, and like he was like, I'd lose to him by like, so it'd be my results would be tech. I got pinned. And then me and him would have like a 2-point match or 1-point match. And I knew, like, I could beat this kid. I forgot what he did. Oh, he kept sweeps. He was a lefty, and he would single me to my left. And it was so weird because I'm 4, maybe 5. I know how to defend it. Me and Coach Diamond, I kid you not, we did a full hour and a half on stopping a left side sweep because we knew I was moving in about a month and a half. We knew. So we knew I'd have like 2 tournaments left. And I was going to beat this kid before I left. I was not letting it happen. I couldn't let that fly. Even when I was younger, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't take that level of disrespect. Couldn't do it. So finally I beat this kid for like 5th and 6th in a 6-man bracket. And my mom and my siblings and the entire parental staff of Middlesex Wrestling is bawling their eyes out. Bro, because I was so bad. And I finally got a dub. Finally. And then I lost to him the next weekend before I left.
All right. So the reason I bring that up is obviously talking to Lilly and kind of her background and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I want to end with is coming this weekend, there's the Premier National League. And you mentioned it very early in this show where you mentioned Beach Nationals and Spartan Nationals being the same weekend and everything else. And more opportunities are good, but it does split everybody apart. And this Premier National League that's taking place up in Pennsylvania, it's pulling according to their website. And for those of you who don't know, the Premier National League, it looks like it's a group of 8 to 12 clubs that come together and they compete in an event once in the first year, I think, for the high school guys. I don't know if they're girls. Second year is going to be a number of different and so on and so forth. So, but one of the things that's interesting is Ironclad is one of the logos on there. Well, this coming weekend is also Southeast Regionals. So is having more of these types of events good? Does it split everybody apart? So there's too many events and there's just not enough, competition. What's kind of your take on that?
I love the idea of a lot of these events. Like the Premier National League is a wonderful idea. But I mean, it's like the Don Silva Memorial Duels. The problem is that, and the reason why I picked June 3rd, my dad's birthday was June 6th. So I want to do it the week of his birthday. This is the thing. It is so difficult to schedule things when there isn't, and everyone say, oh, well, just look at this. If you go to usawrestling.com, there are events that are not on there. For example, the Premier National League is not on there. So
Right.
there's a lot of events that there's no uniformity in the way we do things. I feel like that's one where I look at football, for instance, and they do that amazingly, where everybody knows for the summer stuff, like the 7-on-7 stuff, OT7, Las Vegas, the National Championship is this weekend. The 2 weeks before that, we'll have this one in Charlotte qualify, and they're a lot better about unifying their scheduling so everybody can compete at the most events and we get the most.
Is
there.
that because there's one organizing body and we have like 7 organizing bodies?
Well, no, they go across organizing bodies. There's just more conversation at the top between OT7. Someone's gonna yell at me. I think it's FBU and the other
You're
one.
talking way over my head. I don't have any
I know
I
a
have
little
no
bit.
access.
I know a little bit because I was good enough in middle school football to like get told, "Hey, you should go play at this in the summer," and I didn't because I wrestled, but I was asked to a lot. What I'm saying is, at the top, USA Flow, there needs to be more conversation of, "Hey, when are we doing this?" So that guys can compete at everything.
Well, and I think so. Premier National League, I think, is hosted by Rudis, but you got Rudis, you've got USA Wrestling, you got like Tyrant, and you got like and then you got
My
AAU, and you've got just so many different organizations, and everybody's kind of splintering apart. And you mentioned it way back at the beginning of this that there were Florida guys who didn't go to Florida, their freestyle Greco state tournament because they went up to Beach Nationals.
And you remember something, Beach, there's a world team spot on the line.
Right.
So what are you willing to, I just feel like there needs to be, like I said, that there needs to be more uniformity there.
All right. So that is this week's show, ending with Premier National League. But we talked about beach wrestling, talked to Lilly Chavis, talked about Spartan Nationals, the Florida State tournament. And you know what? We've got just more and more and more over the next several weeks. A lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about, and it is a really exciting time for the sport of wrestling. And this summer, it's like I said, I mean, you get some incredible matchups that you may not get to see during the folk style season. Yeah. So I'm super excited for this. I'm super excited for this section of the season.
Absolutely. And then, one of the best parts is when Fargo's over, we'll drop a new big board and Scrappy will have his preseason rankings or something like that.
Yeah, preseason will come out after Fargo. Preseason. Listen, I got to have the people already yelling at me early because that's when it's good to have them yelling at you is early.
Well, they just yell at you all the time, so you're good.
I mean, yeah, like if we're going to be honest.
All right, man. I'll see you in 2 weeks, but you and I will jump on in a week and preview some of the duels coming up and everything else.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.